This video is going to continue going over the Twitter Bootstrap shortcode plugin that we created. This one we're going to start on the buttons and see all the different things you can do with the buttons. The buttons, as you can see, has 4 different categories, and there's a lot of different options for the buttons. So let's go ahead and click on the button. Here you'll notice there's the color, the size, the URL, the title, the target, and the actual button text. So to start with the button color, they offer all the different button colors that Bootstrap offers. So if you go into buttons and check them out, you can see there's primary, info, success, warning, danger, inverse, and even link if you want to use that. So for instance, if you wanted the green one, just put that as success. There's also different sizes. So as you notice, Bootstrap has 4 different sizes. So if you don't declare a size, it'll go to this default, but there's also large, small, and mini. So this button's going to be large, or it actually puts large in there for you. Then you can declare the URL. This is just a placeholder right here, but you can put any URL you want, the title, and then target if you wanted to open up in a new tab, or you could put self in there if you wanted to open in the same tab, and then the button text. So if we save this, update our plugin page, you'll notice that it'll go to bragthemes.com if it's clicked. And it's also a large button and green. So we go back to blue if we want, which is primary. Let's make a mini one. Hit update just for a quick example. Let's see that I got small and blue. So the button shortcode has several other options that you could use. For instance, if you wanted a full width button, which is called block, you just type in block equals yes. And this is actually going to make the button full width. See, it goes across the whole page. You could also put this in a column. But we'll go over columns later. Another option with buttons is the button popover. And I had this one already created, so I just copied it in here. Notice that it has all the same options as this one, except that it adds this pop title, then pop content, and pop placement. So this is going to actually be when you click on the button, the content that you see. So this is the title of that popover, the content of that popover, and the placement of that popover. So if we save our page, I'll show you an example. So it's going to be popover bottom. So notice there's the title, the content, and the direction that the popover came out of the button. Again, you can declare if you want it to be full width, which is block, the color of the button, and also the size. Alright, let's move on to the next button category. I think that covered all the buttons. Let's make sure. So we did different sizes, the block, which is also full width, all the different color. Now we're going to get into this section over here, which is the drop downs, the split drop down, and the button groups. So let's do button drop downs. If you click that, you'll notice that it automatically puts all this in there for you. So let's just hit update to see what that looks like without us making any changes. So we have a red button with an icon, the drop down, with icons within the drop down. So let's go over this. So the label is button text, as you can see here. The icon is an info sign. You can get all the different icon names from Font Awesome. If you go to this URL here, fonawesome.github.com, you'll see that they have over 220 different icons. And you just grab whatever name you want to use if you even want to use one. So for example, we'll take that out so we don't have an icon in our button. So there's the color again, all those different colors that we mentioned before, and the size. So here's where we start getting into the actual drop down. So there's the icon called pencil where we want the that particular link to go, then the button text and so forth. So you can add as many of these as you want if you want a huge long drop down. And there's also this divider that you can put in there that actually splits it up into different sections. So if you want that divider, you can add several different dividers in there. Notice that this drop down doesn't have an icon, so there's no icon in there. So that's pretty cool. So with those changes, let's update that. We only took the icon out, so our button's not going to have an icon anymore. Yeah. So I think in this one you can also do drop up equals yes. And it'll actually make the drop down go up. Yeah, see the caret changed to go up. So now if you for some reason want a drop up menu instead of a drop down menu, you just simply put drop up equals yes. Great. I think that pretty much covers all the options in that shortcode. Let's move on to the next button shortcode, which is the drop-down split. So let's save those changes so we can see what a drop-down split is. So notice the drop-down split has two different areas here. You can make this actual go somewhere and then also have a drop-down. So this is just like the other drop-down menu except that it's split into two different sections. So just like any other shortcode that we've talked about, you have the button text, the color of the button, the size of the button, and the actual URL that you want that left side of the button to go to. Then once you click the drop down, these are going to be the links that are in your drop down. So you have the pencil icon, the URL again, the target, either self or blank, and the button text. So that's pretty similar to the other drop down, except that it's split like we've said 100 times. So the last button is the button group. So if we add this, update, you'll see that this is a button group and we have a blue button and a red button. So let's see how we did this. So what's automatically inserted here is the button color, the size again as always. So all these are you can change the options, different sizes, different colors. You can also, if you wanted another button to be added in that group, just copy this, put it in there right next to it. Notice that this color is going to be red again. You can have as many buttons as you want in a button group. So the last thing you can do with button groups is set it to vertical. I want to say you do vertical equals yes. You update that. And it changes it to this vertical style here. So that's everything that you can do with the different buttons. I'm pretty sure we've covered all the different options and all the different settings that you can do with each kind of button. Our next video will go over carousels and some of the remaining different shortcodes.